Our Highline Voices, 106.5 KQWZ LP FM. Connecting Highline and our region. Share your story. Our Highline Voices, history, cultural heritage, art, performances, contemporary, pop culture. We are very motivated to provide a vibrant community museum and authentic social gathering place. It truly takes a village to raise a museum. Despite the challenges, our daily inspiration is our eagerness to build a stronger and more connected community. This museum is from the community to the community. Our passion is for our visitors to have access to a broad spectrum of information sources and cultural perspectives. Our Highline Voices.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nancy. I'm the director of the Highline Heritage Museum, and we are here excited. We have a wonderful person joining us today, and we just cannot, we're excited. We're just excited to have her here. What we're going to do is we're going to let her introduce herself, and then from there, we're just going to talk a little bit more about the work that she does, and then who she is as a person. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, Nancy. My name is Laura Bermes. I'm a school counselor in the Highline School District and an artist and a resident of Burien and someone who's enjoys and promoting and supporting the arts in Burien. So anyway, nice to meet you.
Great to have you here with us. This is I'm gonna give a little reminder to people as to why we're doing this project, why radio and museum. We do have very specific demographics that will not come to the museum. One of them will be people with transportation, another group people who have disabilities, another one or minority groups that still don't trust museums, and then other ones is that the idea that there's a lot of low-income families are working more than one or two jobs full-time. And so we hope that through this format, we allow more people to feel that they're included in the program, and that it just extended in more different ways of sharing those voices. And so this project is called Highline Voices, and it is just letting everyone kind of share themselves and introduce themselves to the community. So with that in mind, I do have a question regarding the work that you've done with the arts. I know that we have your exhibit, which we'll be talking a little bit more about that in a few minutes, but tell us a little bit about your interactions with art and what it means to you, and then how that connects it with the work that you've done with the community.
Oh, that's a great question. And I appreciate the fact that you're providing another format to build community and to learn more about the Highline area and our heritage here as well. It's fascinating. Well, as a person who, when I was growing up, I always was a sporty person who played sports, and a very creative person, but still a person who played sports. And at some point in my life, I was injured, and I no longer could play the sports that I played, because I grew up playing basketball and volleyball and softball, and in the neighborhood, I played with all the boys in the neighborhood because I was in a neighborhood filled with boys. But after I was injured, I could no longer play on the high school teams. And I was pretty depressed about that, because that was a big part of my identity. And someone invited me into the theater department. And I went into the theater department, and next thing you know, I'm helping to build sets and paint the backgrounds. And I'm singing and acting. And I realized that all along, I've always was a very creative person, but I had this passion for the arts. I really enjoyed myself. And the teachers and at the public school where I was at, I had started in a school where they didn't have art and they didn't have theater, right? And they didn't have band. So by high school, I never really had an arts education. And so this was eye-opening to me, and it was an opportunity for me to shine. I enjoyed athletics. I enjoyed my friendships there, but I never really shined as much as I had with the arts. And so the theater teacher gave me so much space, and I would paint the backdrops. And I guess I just found a voice in the arts. And as somebody who always wanted and enjoyed working with children, I realized how valuable the arts can be. And so for me, literally, it got me a scholarship to college. So I had a theater scholarship. You never hear of that. And it was all because I painted. I painted the backdrops. So I don't know, just carried over. And it's a lifelong gift, in my opinion. Music and the arts are a lifelong gift, and the sports can also be a lifelong gift. But the music and arts usually don't beat your body up as much. So it's a great way to stay healthy.
Yeah, you talk about healthy right there at that moment. I do paint, but I realize that when I'm painting is when I'm going through pain, to like a pain, and that I use that as a healing tool, as something that allows me to breathe and allows me to, just calm down, breathe, and then just calm the monsters in your head and in my heart. And so it is beautiful to see that you care for the little ones, and then that you can see the impact of art, not just, like a quick transaction, but it's something that carries on in many different formats and ways as you continue. Your connection with the art seems like it's been there for many years, but now what about the project that you started here in Burien? I know that you had gallery, and then that allow you to engage more people, for more audiences and more different groups and demographics.
Yeah, it was. I've been in education for a long time. I went back and I was in college to become a school counselor, and I started when I was pregnant for my third child, and graduated and began working. And I used to run, or as a family service worker, the homeless education program in Highline. Did that for about 4 years. Then I was a school counselor in Seattle for about 8 years. And of course, I was also a single parent during a lot of that. And I just got exhausted emotionally, kind of worn down. And I've always had this idea that as educators, if you burn out, you really need to figure out what you're going to do, because the casualty of educator burnout are the students. And so I just wanted to make sure I was healthy enough to keep doing the work that's so important in the lives of all these children. So I took a break, and on my break, I called it a sabbatical, because educators used to take sabbaticals, and it used to be paid for. Of course, not anymore. It took a lot of creativity to take that break. I rented out rooms in my home. I took a job at a local horse ranch in the mornings. And then I kept thinking, what am I going to do that's meaningful for me, that's going to restore my sense of well-being? And how can I share this journey with other people? And I just started envisioning this art gallery, kind of a community gallery. I looked for spaces, and lo and behold, there was this cute little storefront space in Burien. And it just worked out beautifully. The landlord there is part of a family who owns a series of buildings that they rent out in the downtown area of Burien. And so they rented me one space, and I said, I'd like it for 1 year. And he said, I'll rent it to you for 2 years. And I said, I guess that's what I'm going to do then. And opened the gallery and invited people in. It was an incredible experience. It filled my bucket. It brought me so much joy. And it also opened the door for local artists to share their work as well. So in the end, by the time I closed the gallery, over 75 artists in our area had hung their work and sold their work. And I had artists coming in and teaching classes. I had parties once a month. I had music circles. It was just, and my goal was that the gallery would pay for itself right? So that I wouldn't go bankrupt doing it. And it all worked out. Financially, it worked out. Emotionally, it was an excellent experience for me. And when you share your story about how art brings you healing, there were so many artists who had never shared their work before. There was one man who got into art after his wife had died and just had never really thought of himself as an artist. And he went to a paint and sip with friends and walked out realizing he had this gift. And to this day, he still sells his art, still does work. A number of local artists whose work has become quite popular in our area started right there at the gallery. So anyway, to me, it was this blessing that was wrapped up in all of this fear. But once I let go of being worried about how things will go, how things will be paid for, and I just leaned in, it all worked out. I got very lucky and very fortunate.
I
Anyway.
think to me, it speaks about you, who you are as a person, when you can see the beauty of it. Not everyone can see it.
Yeah.
And for some people, they will think that art is just something to have fun with, but they don't understand the meaning behind it. And for many people, and the reason why I say that is that there's a theory that we all have different ways of how we express ourselves and how we process information and how we learn and how we engage with that information. And so somebody will be more, more practical and less artistic, and they were more comfortable with numbers and things like that. And so when they have their own opinions about art, it is something that's alienated because they cannot see it. But I do believe that art connects us, all of us. I think that it represents an emotion one way or another to me. This is my personal view. I'm now saying it's the museum's view. It's just my personal view that when I'm looking at art, I'm trying to define the emotion of the person who's creating art. Is that person releasing pain? Is that person happy? Is that person trying to bring some light into things? Is that person just exploring new ways and hidden ways that as we are sitting in front of a canvas, what is guiding us? And I have done several interviews with artists in the past, and like the majority of them can tell me, yes, they have a vision of what the art is going to be, but at the end of the day, that vision, it looks completely different to the end product. The end product is completely different. And we're talking about even people who have commissioned their work before. And it's like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And they show me the concepts, and then turn on and see the sculptures or seeing how it turned out. It's like completely different.
Yeah.
And us working with many artists as we open the museum as well, I do hope that not just because we have your exhibit here, but because you are here in Burien and in Highline, that you had the freedom to do whatever you want in the space. This is for everyone. And so don't feel that, oh my God, this is going to be the typical museum that is more, we break a lot of the rules. That's what I'm trying to say. We break a lot of the rules, and I know what rules they are because I know the best practices, but it's still, I am pushing out of the box. And so just what I wanted to share is that this is a space. So if you want to do those music circles, if you want to collaborate with something, if you want to have fun in this space at any given time without having to feel like, oh, this is the wrong time, I'm too busy, this is not the right time. But we're talking about like summer when it's a little bit more mellow and you're not working in school. This is a place for you. And not just here. I know that many different places around Burien and Highline will allow that, but just extending an invitation publicly too, so they know that I'm saying that. I
love that. To me, I love taking spaces and making somebody's joy everybody's joy, making somebody's healing everybody's healing. Seems so right to me. That's wonderful. And that was really the vision for the gallery when I did it, is to find a way to share that. I wonder if it came out of starting that artistic journey in the theater, because the theater is a real team activity. It really is. you might have a director at the head, but everybody, as you take on different parts, you all have your own vision, and it all just kind of comes together, and it's this shared experience, however you contribute to it, right? Anyway, when I come into the museum, I feel that way as well when I look at the different exhibits, right? And you can tell that somebody curated something here or pulled something there, and it all, as you walk through it, you can just feel the spirit of all these different hands and thoughts and feelings and experiences coming together. It's quite a beautiful thing. So yeah,
that comment, and it's true. I'm still the only full-time staff person here at the museum, and so whatever you see here is people just expressing themselves how they want to. As you walk in the galleries, you'll see a lot of the term co-curation or co-creation or co-design. We use those terms intertwinedly. And what that means is that it's not just, hey, can you give me your opinion or give me your story, your photos for me to put that up? No, it's about, no, you're part of it. This is your story. We the light in the stage, but you are the one talking to the people. And so instead of having a label writer, which is one of the most common practices in museums, and instead of having all the exhibit sounds like the museum is talking to you, we're breaking the rules and like, no, the community is talking to you. Each one exhibit is about them expressing themselves, and then they having control over the narrative. I don't have that permission, even though I'm a director. I don't have that permission to control anyone's narrative. And I think that if they feel free to express themselves, that this is an opportunity for them to say, this is who I am, and then introduce themselves to the community. This is about you. I don't want to.
I love that. I know. Okay, I turned it. That's because I'm a counselor. Anyways, and it's the truth too. When you're doing a painting, it is like having a discussion with the people who are viewing it, right? I know where it's coming from for me, and then you see it and you have a feeling that it evokes in you. Mm-hmm. And so often, one of the most interesting and fun things about having the gallery is that I had my own work there, and people would come and buy it. And I had to get over, they would say, I'll take this piece. And I had to get over saying, really?
Yeah.
And instead, I would just listen. So, to their interpretation of a painting or their thoughts about it, it brought me so much joy to recognize that's like an intermediate, and the conversation is happening through it, to them and back to me again. Anyways, yeah. That's funny. I did turn it around.
I can tell that you're passionate about it. I can tell that you meaning what you're saying, and it's not meaning just through words, but like through your emotions and through your actions, because you took that sabbatical to let go and take all in, and so it's just I do admire that, and I admire that giving us permission to do what we really want to do, and not everyone is that lucky to go for it. And so I'm glad that you did it, and I know that a lot of people really took the benefited from that action. Art, healing. There's been a few times where I painted expressing anger or expressing a lot of pain. In fact, my first paintings were all based on pain, and like I'm going through something, and then I will painting this. I got one painted in my office. It's called Tears of Fire. So that was my first painting. It's just crying on fire, and I realized it was. But then as the time passes, I reflect as to who I was when I painted that and who I am now. It's just very interesting. It's like seeing yourself a photo or seeing yourself, looking back to your diary, looking at what I was thinking in that time frame period, how I was reacting to it, and had that self-reflection of that. And so now I do hope that you continue this journey of expressing yourself. And then on that, we do have your exhibit. Tell us a little bit more about your exhibit and what that means to you.
The exhibit that I put together, I called it Out of Chaos, because all of the pieces really start with me not knowing what's going to land on the canvas. And I have a whole process for putting colors on canvases. And it's really for me, it allows me to let it out, let out my emotions, my joy or my frustrations or my confusion or my wondering. But I take two canvases that are typically the same size, and I'll take rollers and I squirt the paint on, roll it on, and I smash canvases together, pull them apart, and then I let them dry and I stare at them and decide what's coming out of them. And so within the Out of Chaos exhibit, there are some landscapes, there are some paintings that have bubbles, and so the bubbles are the dreams or emotions, and birds and flowers. And then there's some that have silhouettes of children playing. All of them would be almost hyper happy. My main piece in it, which sold at the opening, it's still there, hanging in the gallery there in the gallery space. It's a very large piece that I put together, and I had the chaos done, but I didn't know where it was headed. And then I had a dear friend who died, and she was a mom of, you know how when you raise your kids, or maybe, I don't know if you have children, but when you raise your children, you make friends with your kids' friends, parents. And so she was in that group, and she was one of the eldest parents, and I was the youngest parent. She was so kind. She was kind of like what I would call patient in a way that I didn't know. And she was joyful. She's so happy to have a child. She was joyful about it. I was exhausted. So I was like, she was the other side. I was thinking of her, and I was thinking of our children. And at the time, her child, she had a single child, was the same age as my youngest. And so there was this group of girls. And so that has this little silhouette of all these girls, and they're doing this kind of fantastical pose, because that's how those girls were together. And so that piece came out of remembering Allison and remembering our girls and how much joy they brought us. So that's the main piece there. And I'm just so happy to get to share about it. It's fun that even though I'm back into my profession of school counseling, that I can still share my art. So thank you so much for making that possible.
No, it's the community who's making it possible, and
Yeah.
many people behind it. The title got my attention immediately when I saw that was the name of it. And so I got the title before seeing you work.
Yeah.
And so I had this kind of sometimes that gets me a little bit of anxiety. What we're presenting, because I'm letting Burien Arts to curate the exhibit, and I don't have any control over it. And not because I don't want to, it's because I want the raw, unfiltered way of how people communicate with each other. And so I just want them to know that they have ownership of that space. The community has ownership over the whole museum. And so one thing is me talking, but I want my actions to represent what I'm saying. And so that is one of them. But there are times where I'm a bit nervous, like, okay, I just hope, like chaos, like what chaos means and how people will express that. In my brain, if I picture chaos, oh my God, it will be like my house exploded from inside out, and it just, and then that's how I feel internally with my brain is all over the place. I don't see it, that harmonious space, that sense of, can I breathe in this? And so when I came to the space and saw your work, it took my mind away. And then I was seeing it while you were doing the installation, because I was seeing it, and I was like, and that was the first, like, that was a little different than what I was expecting based on the title alone. And so as I had time, and there are times that I'm super late, I'm alone, I'm cleaning up the tables or chairs because we had an event or whatever. I'm in there, and sometimes I'm just like, I need to take a quick break after, 12 hours, 13 hours straight of working and just looking at your art at times in that room. And I'm trying to connect with that term chaos, but it is very interesting interpretation that we all give to terms. And then so that that what got my attention. And so when I see you work, it actually lets me breathe, lets me calm down. It lets me see that interpretation of a chaos by me is different from everyone.
Yeah.
And then it might be symbolically, it might be physically, it might be an emotion that is trapped in there. It might be, the different contexts that you can put in things like that. And so, yeah, I just want to share with you that it's always been giving me a sense of joy looking at your work when I'm in the middle of this madness, chaos in my brain, and I'm running all day long. And I, like last night, I stayed here until 7 p.m. And
your goodness.
No, but it's normal. As I stay like,
Yeah.
and I'm by myself, and I'm like, I'm too tired to go home, and I'm just looking at it, and it's like, it just feels it's soothing. And I know that as people come and experience our work, and we have a board retreat yesterday, and it was interesting. It was interesting in many different ways. And so the idea of also people looking at your work while people are meeting or having programs or have a way to start this conversation is meaningful. So thank you. We can see you light. We can see you magic.
And now you can see the inside chaos and the outside bubble.
I know. When I took my daughter for the first time to a museum, she was probably like, I don't know, 1 month old. She was baby. And then when she started to I started to teach her sign language early on. And then when she was probably like 4 or 5, I'll ask her when we're looking at paintings, describe an emotion out of it. Just do that. And she will be looking at it. And then she will be just like really, even though she was super young, she was able to bring out some of those emotions out. So tell me one favorite memory that you have with a kid. And because you mentioned your past experiences with adults, and I know that you have on your paintings, you got children representing your daughter, but your daughter and the girls around you, but aside from your family, do you have a specific memory that you have with a kid in art?
Oh, gosh. I have so many because I use art all the time with children. A specific memory, I don't know. I don't know that I can come up with one. I enjoy having kids. The other day, I have a whole bucket of pipe cleaners that I keep in my office, and children will come in. And there was this kiddo who came in, and he was frustrated, and he started laying his pipe cleaners out, and he's like, "I am making a Godzilla." And I said, "And I wonder why you're making a Godzilla." And he goes, "Because he eats things when he's mad." And I think it's just an opportunity for someone to just let go. Like you said, ironically, with pipe cleaners, to literally unwind. It's a good thing. Oh, I don't know. I use art with kids all the time, and with grown-ups, because grown-ups are just kids. We're all just men. I don't know that I can stay much longer, but I sure have enjoyed visiting with you.
No, thank you so much for meeting with us for the interview. And we just hope that people enjoy the exhibit here, and that we hope that we can see your artwork all around. Once again, thank you so much for the opportunity to interview you. And I'll let you go. So
great. Thank you so much. Okay, take care.
Our Highline Voices, 106.5 KQWZ LP FM.
We envision ourselves sitting at a round table where no one is the leader and stories are heard respectfully, regardless of gender, age, sexual orientation, disabilities, or ethnicity. We want to embrace our differences and similarities. We are creating a place where visitors can connect with the stories and each other. Our mission is we collect, preserve, and tell the stories of the Highline region and its people. We want to extend our mission outside the walls of the museum. Our Highline Voices represents us all, honoring our past, celebrating our present, and uniting to cultivate our future. This project allows us to reach out to demographics who might be unable to visit the museum. People with disabilities, low-income families, people who don't trust museums, and more. In partnership, we are launching a locally programmed new radio station at the museum, featuring recorded and live Highline's heritage, history, culture, arts, and more. Are you interested in sharing your story? Email director@highlinemuseum.org.